Good afternoon, everybody. It is Thursday, 2 o'clock in about 8 minutes. We're starting early because we have some business to attend to. How's everybody doing? Is it nice where you are? I see some people complaining of rain and what have you. No, it's nice in South Carolina. It's nice here, definitely. Gary, how are you? Susan, hi. And Graham Carey. Take a bow, sir. Congratulations. Graham Carey was the winner of our inaugural video competition this last 2 months, and a deserved winner indeed. Fantastic video. If you haven't seen it, watch the recording and stick till the end because you need to watch this. It's great. Graham, you did a fantastic job. It was quite brilliant. I talked about it at length last night with Rick Littlefield, who agreed with our choice. In fact, everybody agreed with my choices this time for a change, so you should be very proud of yourself. Good job. Fantastic. And I think we'll definitely do this again. The number of entries, 22, was about 21 more than I expected. So I'm very pleased that so many people rose to the occasion. And everybody, thank you for your efforts, and it was a great fun evening, and I really enjoyed doing the video. That is a fun thing for me to do, so we'll do that again for sure. So the long-awaited macro cine lens video. Let me get those words in order. Let me start over. The long-awaited Laowa 100mm macro cine lens review is finished and done. I've processed the video. It is ready to watch. It's just not on YouTube yet. There was a little bit of a problem last night in that I fell asleep before it was finished processing, so I couldn't upload it. You don't care about that, do you? Okay, well, I will upload it the second we're done here. It's the first order of business, so it'll be available at the same time this video is available. And it's probably worth watching if you're interested in exploring the idea of using a cine lens in your macro work. It's worth watching the video because I give quite a bit of background and explanation on how these things evolved and how they're used and issues with them and that type of thing. So it's got information in it, is what I'm trying to say. I have a friend. This is controversial. There are people who disagree with that, but I think I do have a friend. His name is Bob, and he lives in the central part of Florida, north of Orlando, south of the rest of it, and Ocala is the area in which he lives. And Bob recently destroyed part of his house in a peak of fury, I think. But the result was he replaced his kitchen counters. And he contacted me early in the process and asked if I'd be interested in a piece of granite that's not granite, it's quartz. Would you like to see the color of it? I'm going to show you the color of it, whether you'd like to see it or not, because this is important to the story. I have to make it big enough for you to see, though. Yeah, that's big enough. That is what it looks like, right there. Imagine that only bigger. It's and the bits that look clear, well, they're clear. It's quartz. It's a kind of rock, apparently, that they make kitchen counters out of. But it is now cut up into pieces that are perfect for using as a basis for your macro rig. That plonking noise you just heard was one of 3 Xerine programs that I'm running at the same time on the Mac Studio. I'm doing 3 big stacks. It's an experiment to see if I can do this and that at the same time. I probably can't, so forgive me. But anyway, granite, quartz. What Bob did was, after he'd done what he needed with the rock, he ended up with like 7 pieces that are large enough. One of them's large enough for a gigantic multi-station rig. The others are a couple of feet by 3 feet, or 3 feet. 3 feet by 2 feet. So the perfect size, literally, to mount a macro stage on. Now, they weigh a lot. Imagine a piece of rock 1.5 inches thick and that size, and multiply it by 7, and that comes to a lot. I did the math. So we have an issue, and that is he's got all these pieces of rock that has donated. The idea was he was going to let me have them. I can't get over there to get them, and even if I could, I couldn't bring them back. My car would literally refuse to carry that weight back. So I'm putting out my feelers here to see if there is anybody in the area, that's the bottom right-hand corner of America, who might be interested in 1 or 2 pieces of quartz in exchange for possibly getting 1 piece of quartz over here, or something like that. Any arrangement that we can come up with that takes the labor off Bob's hands and puts it firmly in yours, but yeah, so that he can get rid of the stone that he doesn't need, and we can distribute it to people who want it or need it. Okay, it's an idea. If push comes to shove, I'll rent a lorry and a person, and I'll drive over there and I'll get it, which might be what I have to do, in which case, there you go. But just in case, if anybody somewhere in this area between Bob and I am as interested in coming up with an idea, that you've heard enough, right? I can hear you thinking that. Okay, just get in touch with me. This is a non-Pazoom weekend. There is no Pazoom meeting this weekend. There is one next weekend, and there is also, unless I'm wrong, no, I'm not wrong, I'm right, there is also a tangent next weekend. So that's going to be a big weekend. We got a lot to get ready for that. I already mentioned the video, but I didn't give it its name, which I ought to have done, which is Black Bic Biro Ball the movie. Black Bic Biro Ball the movie. It was hard enough to say before, but it's B to the 4th power the movie. Watch it, you'll love it. And the prize, one of the prizes, I haven't figured out what the other one is, but one of the prizes was to name that adapter that I described, the adapter that is always in the way and showing up in odd places until you need it, and then you can't find it. That adapter is now called a thingamabob, and thingamabob may no longer be used for anything else of that type. Okay? Make sure that you're clear on that. Speak to anybody you know who runs dictionaries or that type of thing, and tell them that the use of the word has changed, and from here on in, a thingamabob this is a thingamabob right here. This is the thingamabob, actually. So now you know. That's what it is. What we're talking about today is light, and specific kind of light. Well, there is no specific kind of light. Light is electromagnetic radiation in the visible spectrum, right? We all agree on that. There are several ways that you can make it, lots of ways that you can make it, and probably the one that we're most interested in is this thing called flash. Now, flash is not dead. Let's be clear about that. The title was my weak attempt at kind of a clickbaity title that was riffing on a headline that I read the week before in an online rag, for want of a better word. So the idea was I would make fun of clickbait by naming the title as I did. That Flash is dead. Flash is not dead, but as I started thinking about it, it raised lots of interesting questions about the place of flash in photography, and there is going to be a successor to flash. There always is. There's always something better, and it got me thinking, well, what is that exactly? And this is particularly appropriate right now in the run-up to my getting my hands on the new lighting solution from Novaflex. That is going to be coming out very soon, and when this equipment arrives and I start to use it, I'm going to be facing head on this whole question of, is there a successor to Flash, and if there is, what is it? I thought it would be very helpful to me in preparing my comments and analysis for you if I looked into this question a little bit deeper, like where are we right now with the technology? What would it take literally, what would it take to replace flash? What does flash do that the current lighting solutions cannot do, and why? And what would have to happen for something to come along that would bump it from its ascendant position? So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I want it to be as bilateral as possible. So do chime in if you have thoughts or comments that are constructive, or questions, definitely, whether they're constructive or not. If you have questions about anything I say or refer to, please just chime in, and I'm sure Alistair will let me know. Alistair is here today, I believe. I saw him come in and say hi to the masses, and hi, Alistair. I don't know if Bud is around or if Amy is here, but if they're here, welcome too. So let's begin where we probably ought to start by looking at what the current state of affairs is. I'm going to be talking specifically about the kind of flash that we as macro photographers use, which is basically anything that falls under the rubric of speedlight. A small, compact, usually battery-operated device that has a xenon discharge tube in it that puts out a burst of light of high intensity and short duration. Okay, what specifically makes these lights different from, say, studio lights is, of course, the way they're switched. They're switched using gated bipolar transistors, whereas the larger studio lights use an older technology to determine the duration of the flash. So where we stand right now is the lights that we use, my MF12s, for example, which are minute and weigh a couple of ounces, put out a predictable amount of light over a very short duration that then is quickly extinguished. That's the way the gated transistor works. It cuts the power off almost the second it starts the power, so it doesn't require that the whole burst of energy be expelled by the flash, so you can make the duration very, very short. And they're the main characteristics of a flash. So if we were to look at what is currently available, what is out there right now, there are probably 3 technologies that are vying for the position of the portable lighting solution for photography, and would be of most interest to macro photographers. The first, of course, is LED. LED has come an awfully long way, and it is evolving very, very rapidly. They are getting smaller, the units are getting smaller, more powerful, and able to do things that LEDs traditionally have not been able to do. But where their strength lies is in lighting of a continuous type that's used in video. For that, LED has become almost invaluable. I mean, it's hard to imagine how we ever did outdoor or portable lighting without LED. So it has completely taken over in that area. But what about flash? Why is LED facing an uphill battle against flash? Well, it comes down mostly to the peak intensity that the LEDs can achieve and the duration that they can achieve it for. In other words, the same issues that resulted in the xenon flash tube being adopted for flash are facing the LED. Now, I will grant you that there are probably LEDs right now that are available in labs that will put out the light at an intensity similar to a flash with a guide number of 60 and put it out for a duration of 1/20,000th of a second. I believe that is very doable. I also know that to do that requires an extraordinary piece of engineering and a device that is able to generate current far greater than anything a flash needs to fire. And that's really what this comes down to. It's not that LED can't produce the amount of light that is needed to freeze action, but that it can't do it as economically or in as practical a way as flash can. So we'll get back to that, and we'll talk about a very specific case of that in just a second. But the next thing that's kind of in the works is advanced alternative flash technologies that do away with the xenon tube and use new technology to come up with using different materials that allow a burst of equal brightness and equally short or shorter duration that allows the device to last longer, the tubes to last longer, the capacitors to be more efficient. There are groups working on that, and there are papers all through the literature on the subject, but there's nothing commercially available yet. And I'm not sure that would quite fit a description of knocking flash off its perch. It would basically be changing flash into something other than what we think of it as now, a gated transistor and a xenon flash tube. More interesting yet in a kind of gruesome way is laser-based flash. There are people working on using collimated high-energy light, laser light, as a flash source, and it can be done. It's never likely to be adopted because, of course, you destroy the eyeballs of the things you're photographing. The light itself is incredibly concentrated. It's not traveling like regular photons in a cloud of light. It's traveling in actual structured beams of light, which put the energy in pinpoints. It creates problems too. While there are devices, experimental devices, that are used for taking photography using the light from laser as the illumination, it leads to some artifact in images, especially using digital sensors that we're used to. It causes a grainy sand-like appearance where the high energy beams of light are striking the sensor. So that would need to be overcome. Some kind of way to diffuse it would be necessary. But that is one of the contenders for knocking flash off its perch. Blazing torches on the end of poles, the kind they bring to my garden every Friday night, demanding I be turned over. Those don't really put out enough light or quick enough flash of it, so we won't include those. What then are the barriers to something just coming in and making flash irrelevant? Well, it is the two main ones, the quality, the intensity, the brief duration of the light, and also the fact that flash produced by a xenon flash tube is very, very similar to sunlight. In some respects, almost indistinguishable from sunlight. But of course, when you put filters in to remove the UV and everything, it becomes a little less like sunlight, but it has the qualities of sunlight, and that's one of the very appealing things about it. So getting anything that is going to replicate sunlight as well as flash does is problematic, and that's going to be an issue. The power efficiency and the size of the unit. In talking about LEDs, I'm going to give you a specific example in a minute, but to make an LED device that has the equivalent output in terms of duration and intensity as just a regular speed light, an on-camera speed light, a big one, a 60 guide number device, would require so much power and so much space, physical space, for a system to cool the LEDs, for example. The LEDs would have to be on massive heat sinks to disperse the energy, because you're going to produce so much energy in the semiconductor in producing that brief burst of energy that will be the flash. You've got to get rid of that heat before it can flash again. So you'd need something like a refrigerator around it to keep it cool. So that's an issue. User adoption, the willingness for you and I to turn in our dozen MF12s to get one of the new laser beam flashes is going to be a real issue for whoever the contender is that rises to the top, because we've invested hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in the technology that supports our flash. We have flash modifiers, and we have stands for flash, and we have our studio is built around using flash. Our cameras are designed to operate with flash. So you're talking about a sea change here. For something to knock flash off its perch, it's going to be taking with it a whole photographic culture. So that is one of the reasons that it's going to be very difficult to budge them. And then, of course, cost. The reason MF12s can be bought for $59 every now and again from Adorama, plug for Adorama there, wasn't it? That's a really good thing for us as photographers, but it has taken decades of making and selling flashes to pay for all of the research and development that went into making these things. It can now be sold relatively inexpensively. That is not going to be the case for the next top of the heap. The next device that comes along that's going to take flash off the picture is going to be so expensive. It has to be to start paying for what it's cost to develop. So it makes it really challenging. It's fascinating because you know something is going to do it. Something is going to tick all of these boxes and put flash back in the cupboard. But I don't know that it's going to be today, and I certainly think it would be a bit premature to say that flash is dead. So a lot coming up and a lot to talk about. But let's talk about a practical case of a device that could replace the flash. Let's remove obstacles like money, and let's say you have all the money you need and you have all the technology that's available today. Just make me something that will do what my flash does, and then tell me what the cost is in terms of size and power requirements. I did this as an experiment. I primed ChatGPT with all of the information that I considered basic for a flash unit to deliver at 100%. I chose a common speed light with a guide number of 60, and I asked ChatGPT to devise for me a plan for a non-xenon flash device based on LED that could deliver the same amount of light over the same duration, and describe it to me in terms of its energy consumption in car batteries, 12-volt lead-acid car batteries fully charged, because we all know roughly how much power they hold, and they're dramatically bigger than little batteries. And I asked for it to estimate the size of the device as opposed to the size of a speed light. Okay, so that was the question. It took a lot of back and forth. She was really very rancorous this morning, and I found her a little difficult. I think her electrons may be acting up, but I don't know. That was rude of me to say that, and forgive me. So let's break it down. The big speed lights, the best ones, the guide number 61 that you have in your camera's brand name, produces at ISO 100. It has a guide number of about 60, we'll say. I don't know what that is, but it's irritating, and I can't turn it off because my phone is acting as a camera elsewhere. That worked. Would you like to see the picture from my phone camera? Because I set it up just for you. I think it's beautiful. It's a different view of my workstation. Yeah, and I was going to have that going on in the background and forgot to show it to you. I'm glad the phone went off. Isn't that nice? Yeah, I thought so. It's better than looking at me, but That's all you get. That will come in handy when we're doing demos over there. So that's the deal. We need a very high intensity LED setup to replace this speedlight. I'm sure you'll agree. Speedlights discharge their flash in a very short duration, and it's, depending on the brand and the model, it's somewhere between 1/10,000th and 1/20,000th of a second. That is fast. It's at the lowest power, but it will freeze the motion of just about anything. The recycle time of a flagship speedlight is about 1 second to 2 seconds at full power. These are the assumptions that I'm making to base this on. That's the time it takes for enough energy to be stored up in the flash to deliver another full flash at the end of that time. A speedlight at full power discharges a lot of energy, but in a very short burst, right? So the total energy consumption per flash is actually relatively low, because it's only doing so for 1/20,000th of a second. So when you replicate that with LEDs, which are designed to put out light continuously, you have to have them operate in a mode that's completely atypical, and provide them with enough power to ramp up, discharge, and ramp down again, all while pulling off the heat that would otherwise destroy it instantaneously. So it really is going to take a fairly significant amount of active cooling to keep this thing alive through one flash. But we need it to repeat the flashes. So let's estimate and compare the two. An LED's efficiency and power output is about 100 lumens per watt of power. That's about where they are. When we're considering the kind of burst capability that we need, that efficiency is going to be nowhere near that. No, not even a quarter of that. But let's say that we want to replicate the instantaneous power of a speedlight at full power. We'll need an array of LEDs. We can't just have an LED. We need an array of them, and that's going to increase the size of the unit. And they would have to be very high power LEDs, and each of them would require a fairly large piece of territory for its cooling. It would need to be on a large heat sink. So that's the problem. Given these numbers that we've talked about, we can estimate the size and the power requirement. A typical flagship speedlight would use about 60 to 100 joules of energy per flash, right? That's a straightforward calculation. But for an LED to deliver that amount of energy in a single burst of light, we'd need to match its power output, but allow for all of the inefficiencies of getting that light out of the LEDs, which I just explained. So let's say it would probably be closer to 400 joules per flash, and I think that's ridiculously conservative. But say it was about that. A 12-volt car battery has a capacity of about 48,000 joules if it's completely charged. That's a 40 amp hour battery, which is, they make them bigger, but we'll go with that one. Optimistically, let's assume that the LED operates at the lower end of the estimated power that we're saying, and let's say it only needs 200 joules per flash to get 100% efficiency. It's going to be a lot more, but say that. A single car battery then by itself could support 400 flashes. No, sorry, 200 flashes. So one car battery, 200 flashes. It's already looking rough for your bendy arms, because if you're going to shoot a stack of, say, 600, you'd need 3 car batteries for each of the lights. Yeah, they don't make bendy arms like that. They don't make cranes that offload ships that will carry enough speedlights to do that. So you can start to get a feel for how much power you would need Now, of course, you wouldn't be using car batteries. You'd use little things that would hold as much power, but still, the point is made. What about the size? The array itself, conservatively would have to be the size of a large hardback, well, a coffee table book, to have enough space for the high power LEDs to be spread out. But by the time you added active cooling to keep those things usable, it would probably be the size of, ChatGPT said, excuse me, I can't remember what she used as a. I got that. I was thinking bread box when she said it. No, it was a large book, a volume of a dictionary. So yeah, we're talking about a unit this big, say, would do it with 3 car batteries for every 600 flashes. Let's say Elon Musk tomorrow morning wakes up with an idea for a battery that is the size of a battery that goes in an earbud, and it puts out energy enough to power a regular flash for a year before it needs to be recharged. Okay, so we remove power from the equation. Now we can power the LEDs very inexpensively, but how do we get around the heat issue? How do we get around producing that amount of energy from something that is not designed to produce bursts of energy? That's what we're left with. And a cooling system, I don't know what that would look like. I explored things like active cooling with the piezo type devices, active heat exchangers. Nothing is even on the order of magnitude close to what we need for the kind of heat we'll be producing from these LEDs. So it makes me think that a new kind of LED is going to have to be at the heart of all of this. And that's kind of where we had to leave it in our chat. Interestingly, though, it got me off on a couple of tangents, and I'm going to get into a couple of those in just a second. But the bottom line was, there are real physical restrictions, limitations to what the current technology can do in terms of providing action freezing bursts of light in a way that is power economical, as well as physically containable in a space that would be usable in any way close to what a speed light can do. Now, we've got a lot of very bright people in this group, and I would be very interested to hear what you think about this. What am I missing? What technology is out there that I'm not considering, or what am I getting wrong about the ability of LED to rise to the occasion? I have been very deliberate not to mention or bring up the new lighting solution from our friends over at Novaflex, because I didn't want to contaminate my thinking on this. But it does leave some gigantic questions about what have they come up with? What are they doing that is different? It's something, because this is being marketed as a complete lighting solution for macro photography. So there are efficiencies and cooling techniques that they have come up with. They have to have done, and I'm very excited to see exactly what that looks like. But hopefully now you get a better feel for what the playing field looks like, and how relatively uneven it is, and how difficult it is going to be for anything to knock an MF12 from its ascendant position as a macro lighting unit. In my opinion, the only thing that comes close is an SB200. That size, that weight, that power, it's unbelievable. I have been shooting deep stacks all week. Very deep, in fact, approaching 1,000 images in some cases. And I have been using a battery of 6 MF12s on all the shots, and I have been doing 3 images at a time per session, 3 images. So I have had one black screen in however many. Let's say it comes out to about 1500 per set. 1500 per charge on the MF12s. I've had one black frame from 6 lights. That is going to be asking an awful lot of any technology to top that. I mean, it really is when you think about it from a practical sense, because 2 black screens would be a measurable difference. It would make a huge difference to me. 2 black screens may kill that stack. One I can remove. 2 consecutive ones maybe not. So it could be a big deal. Before we get into a little more depth on laser, which I found interesting enough to ask some follow-up questions on, I'm going to have a quick look at the chat and see what people are talking about and thinking about and saying. And so far that would be nothing. How interesting! There is absolutely my my. You know what? I bet my thingamajig, my Telegram needs to be replenished. I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to stop it and then start it again and see if there are 100 comments telling me to turn my microphone on, for example. Let's see. Turn it back on and maybe there'll be a comment there. Yes, there are lots of comments, and the first one is from Joseph. Why does that not surprise me? Because Joseph is intelligent and he has thoughts about light. The implication is that you really only want one light, a hybrid that can do decent flashes in the 600 watt range, but can switch to putting out 50 to 200 watts of continuous light. I don't know. Well, let me go back and pick up on that thread, because I'm not sure if you were answering a question or a comment of somebody else's, but that is an interesting point. Let me see. Oh, Stuart is in the house. Greetings, Stuart. How are you, my friend? I'm very glad that Alistair mentioned you were there. How's the UK? How's things? How's tricks? I tell you, I have not had any time to watch your videos in a couple of weeks. I've been so busy, but I need to catch up. It's winter over there, so you must be doing some creative stuff, I'm sure. It's winter over here too, but it's getting nice. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. All right, Joseph kicks things off. Mention to Alan that there are laser-excited white light devices with a broader, less dangerous beam and no grain. I'm getting ready to talk about them in just a second, so we're on the same wavelength. Thank you. AI, auto-intelligent flash, is just for lazy photographers. Or is it useful? I don't know what it is. Auto-intelligent flash? I don't know. I have never used flash that I can think of except in manual mode, so I'm not really sure how to operate it. I learned how to do it to do some reviews and then promptly forgot again. I don't use it, so I'm not sure if I don't think it's for lazy photographers by any means. Certainly the lighting, what do they call it in the Nikon creative lighting solutions, these are fantastic tools, using a pre-flash to determine the power output of your flashes and then delivering the exact amount of light, providing what the camera wants you to see and what you want to see are the same thing. Then I would say that it's a very powerful tool and a very useful way to free up your mind to pay attention to other things that may be more pressing. So no, I don't think lazy would be a word I would use at all, ever, in that respect. I think it's just another tool, and it depends on how you use your flash to whether it's a tool that's important to you. Joseph, the Velar 1 and the Edgerton use Cree 50 watt LEDs, 12 of them. They run the 50 watt LEDs up to about 1,000 watts for the short pulse. How is that cooled though? How do they handle the heat generated by? I have several Cree 5 watt LEDs that I have to actively cool when I use to play around with. I imagine this thing has to have some type of support unit to keep it cool. I'd be interested to know. I will look that up. I've not heard of the Edgerton, but will. Zeno. So the implication is that continuous light is never an option, even with electronic shutters. No, absolutely not. No. I did not intend at any point to make the comment that continuous light is dead, for example. No, not at all. Continuous light is a fantastic tool. It is one of it's how we do photography. Flash is how we do photography in the special instance of needing more light or wanting to freeze action. No, continuous light as a creative tool, as the basis for our photography, will never go away. And it shouldn't go away. You can do things with continuous light you cannot do with flash. You can do things with flash you cannot do with continuous light. They are separate tools, but I am not for an instant suggesting that no, flash is here to stay. On your bike, continuous light, we don't need you anymore. Not at all. Not at all. I love using continuous light. I love using the camera and the camera settings to control my exposure. But there are some things that limit that. And for me, as a high magnification photographer, that's usually motion, vibration, that just says your continuous light may not be the best choice for what you're photographing. Let me see. Crispy B. I've used LEDs with ES and flash with ES. Both works fine, but has its issues. LEDs take a long time to expose, and flash is difficult to time. Is it? Yeah, I guess there is no perfect light. Why would there be? Why does there need to be? We have different lighting options, and they, to a greater and lesser extent, work pretty well for what we need them for. But there are always going to be those use cases where neither is perfect, and we just have to pick the best of the two options, or however many options there are. There's something to be said for your comfort level. And I would agree that there is a bias there. If I'm left to my own devices and I have a shooting situation where I could use flash or I could use continuous light, I may, out of habit, reach for the flash because I have an instinctive knowledge of how the flash is going to interact with the subject, where I'd have to think about it with the continuous light, maybe. Just a thought. So yeah, I agree that there are situations for each, and that they're never going to be perfect. So Joseph is responding to Zeno, the implication that you really only want one light, a hybrid that can do both. That was what Joseph was responding to when he talked about the hybrid light that puts out a high power flash as well as continuous light at 50 to 200 watts. And I may be completely wrong to try to find a device that does exactly what a 60 guide number flash can do. That may be the Achilles heel of my argument. Not that I'm really making an argument, but you could come back and say, why are you comparing it to a maximum output flash at maximum output and minimum duration? Why don't you instead compare it to something more realistic, like how you use your MF12s? Good point. I accept that's a fallacy in my argument, because I use my MF12s at 1/64th power, and at 1/64th power the duration's quite short, true, but the power consumption is negligible, but I'm using a lot of them. So yeah, each case of comparison is going to lead to a lot of artifact in the way we think about it. It was just as an illustration, really. Let me see what else has been written here. Russ Richards notes that you would have to sync the duty cycle of the LED with your shutter, as high-powered LEDs are pulse-driven with an on-off cycle called a duty cycle. In other words, it flickers. Well, that's already been dealt with, I believe. And LEDs do control their power output by virtue of a duty cycle. They're driven by pulse width modulation, but you would still be able to power a single pulse without having to pulse the energy altogether, would you not? You could still deliver a single burst of energy to it. I don't know. That's interesting, because I'm talking about a single discharge. It wouldn't flicker because it is the indivisible smallest unit that the thing puts out. So that wouldn't flicker, unless I'm missing the point. Joseph said very probably. The Edgerton is basically an open-sourced one. It's used for high-speed photography. Right, of course, that's where I have heard about it. 4 microseconds, 1/250th of a second at full power. 500 nanoseconds at its lowest power. That's 1/2 millionth of a second. That, my friends, will freeze some action. Let me ask, if I may, Joseph, what would you estimate the cost of an Edgerton to be? And how big is it? Just out of interest, not picking a fight. Crispy B says, if you want a flash with the power of 200 watt seconds, the size of your MF12s, look at the Godox AD200 Pro. What with an extension cord. What a fantastic flash that is. I could not agree more. That is in fact, that is probably the one lighting source that I most covet that don't have, that would fill the macro needs as well as be usable for anything else I could do in photography. Those flashes, if you haven't seen them, are oblong shaped, and you can remove the equipment at the end and just leave a bare bulb, basically. So they act like a studio, all the benefits of a studio flash in what is really a camera flash, in that you have the short duration of action. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Wonderful, wonderful unit. Are they? Is the AD200 Pro super expensive? And you can run it with a cable, can't you? You can plug it in the wall. That might be something to explore further. Okay, so they run a massive 0.4 watt seconds at full power, so there's essentially no heat. Are you serious? Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I need, clearly there's a huge gap here in my knowledge. Amy just ordered a Leica cinema lens. Have you not seen the review yet, Amy? You should wait till the review comes out. It says it's pretty good though, so I think you made a good decision. Congratulations, you are going to absolutely love that lens. It was only when I, for the third time, sat down and recorded that video did I realize how much I have enjoyed using that lens. And I've got all kinds of plans for it if the weather holds this weekend. There is a tree around here that has white leaves on it. Did you flowers? Did you know that trees had flowers? It's a brief thing that happens in spring. They're everywhere, and they're covered in insects. So I'm going out to hunt them down with the Cine lens this afternoon. Give it a try. An Edgerton costs about $500, and it's the size of a paperback. Okay, forget everything I said. What should we talk about today? I honestly had not thought about that device. I really, that was remiss of me. That really does sound like it's edging very close to what I am describing as useful. It must have limitations to it, of course, and I need to look at it and see. But I'll read up on that, Joseph, and I'll respond to your comments next time we meet, which is on Tuesday, if you're around. It's very interesting. It's an interesting conversation. No, Amy, it's not too late. You will be delighted that I confirm your decision as a good one. Absolutely, 100%. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I'll be completely honest with you. The reason this video has taken me this long to come out is I was stubbornly refusing to release it with the video that I had shot because it was rubbish. And it wasn't all because I'm a rubbish videographer, because I've shot good video before. It's just I wasn't able to do it. Like, if you tell me to go shoot a good photograph, there's a chance that I can do it, at least to my own satisfaction. Video is more difficult for me. It really is. All that twiddling around with controls, and I just did not like the video that I was getting out of it. So I came up with a different idea for the actual video review, and that's what I'm releasing today. It's got some of my video in it, but yeah, it's at the end. You'll probably be asleep by then, so don't worry about it. I'm glad you got it. We'll have a competition maybe this year for video shot on that lens only, and you and I can compete in that. If I still have it then. All right, so where was I? There are boy trees and girl trees too. Russ, have you been this morning? I don't think there are boy trees and girl trees, are there? I thought they were all kind of ambidextrous, bilingual, something like that. Oh, that's very, very interesting. When do they, when does that happen? When do they make baby trees? Because I've never seen them move. It's like the ones in my garden never budge. Not for anything, not even in a storm. Lasers. Do you want to talk about lasers, or do you want to continue to talk about the gender of trees? Because I have a feeling we could be getting into some deep water very, very quickly with the tree discussion. What did you think of the style of presentation on Tuesday, if you watched it, presenting the winners like that? I know we've done it before, and I've recorded these sessions and then released it as a video. But doing it live like that, was that at all appealing? Because I could do that each month if there was interest. Oh my goodness, somebody's going to ask me if they haven't already. Hey, Alan, what's the competition this month? I forgot. We decided last Thursday, and I thought it was a brilliant idea, but I can't find my notes. Does anybody remember what I said we were going to do? I'll give you. Yeah, you've got 3 minutes. If anybody can remember what I said the competition was, jog my memory and I'll announce it right now. Otherwise, I'll make something up and announce it. You know what? I'll ask ChatGPT to come up with one. So you've got until I can type this in. Give me a better one. I can't type and talk at the same time. Well, I can, but my talking won't make any sense. I'm going to do it anyway. So let me try to see if she can come up with something interesting. I mentioned she hasn't been herself the last few days, but hopefully she'll have a good idea for this. How does she know what my fingerprint looks like? That's what I want to know. So, please give me a topic for a macro photography contest in early spring. Anything else I should tell her? Yeah, how would she know what I've already done before? That's the problem. Well, let's see. This is how she responds. This is ChatGPT 4, mind you. It's the new one. I programmed it by telling it my life story, and she answered, "Oh, hey, Alan. How about emerging life, capturing the essence of early spring?" she said. "This theme can encompass the beauty of new growth, budding flowers, emerging insects, and overall awakening of nature after winter." She's a silver-tongued devil, isn't she? She's obviously in a better mood too. It allows for a diverse range of subjects and encourages photographers to explore the delicate and vibrant aspects of the changing season. Plus, it's perfect for showcasing the intricate detail that macro photography excels at capturing. What do you think? She asked me, what do I think? ChatGPT's asking me a question. I'm going to ask her about trees, yeah, but that will be for later. What do you think, guys? Emerging life, capturing the essence of early spring. Has anybody got a better suggestion than that? Pierre Sirot says books. Photographing books? I'm not okay. I'll think about that one. Books is on the table then, or books are on the table. Arthur enjoyed viewing live. That's good. Zeno, books. What's this books? Did we say it? Did somebody suggest books last time? And I said, yeah, books. That sounds good. I can't remember that if I did. A book cover. Oh, a photograph that is a book cover. That's right. Now I remember. Thank you, guys. Sorry, GPT. She's going to be so upset that I didn't use her spring thing. That was a good explanation, though. That is the subject for the month of March, is a macro photograph of, let's say, 1 to 2 or larger. So half-life size to larger. And it is a book cover, and it needs to include a title on it. You don't have to have an author's name. Yes, you do. Use your name. You or whatever name you go by. That's the competition. You have to turn in a book-sized or shaped. Of course, books can be any size and shape, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But on it is, I'm gonna draw it out so nobody can say I didn't explain it properly. It's going to look like this. It's going to have, in any style or way you want, like this. It's going to have a picture with a title somewhere on the page and your name or the author's name somewhere on the page, and anything else you want to put on there. Be creative. This is a brilliant idea. Who had this idea? Because that person I'm going to put up for a knighthood this year. That is a brilliant idea. I think it's fantastic, and it will be so much fun to do the judging on that live. So a still photograph of a book cover with a title and your name. That way I don't have to keep your name listed somewhere separate, and I'll know exactly whose picture it is. This is just genius beyond description. ChatGPT doesn't hold a candle to that. So, yeah, that's it. We're good. The problem with spring is that the vast majority of Alan's fans are in Australia. I think that was an incorrect statement, Joseph. I'm pausing because you don't normally make incorrect statements. How many people? Yeah, I would say the vast majority of my followers are actually in the United States, where I am. My guess, and then Northern Europe for most everybody else. Yeah, other than Bruce, is there anybody else in Australia? Raise your hand if you're in Australia. No, don't do that because you're asleep and you'll fall out of the hammock. So I'm not going to have time, though I wanted to get into talking about pulsed laser because it's so interesting. I didn't know this much about it, but I've been looking at using pulsed laser and high-speed imaging applications for pulsed laser, and how laser is shaped and softened for use in imaging. And it was interesting, but I'm not going to get into it because I'll just confuse the matter and I'll only get a few bits of information out before we have to stop. So instead I'll just read your comments. Did anybody remember who it was who thought up the book cover idea? Because that is brilliant. I will call King Charles and let him know that you need to be knighted for it. I did check my globe, and my globe, Australia is largely devoid of pins. There's a pin on the Gold Coast, a pin down near Sydney. That would be Bruce. Yeah, and then one in Darwin. Is there a place called Darwin, or is that a guy? I thought it was an old fella with penguins or something like that. Anyway, yeah, I decided on it. No, I may have approved it or thought it was a brilliant idea, but I didn't come up with that idea. There's no way I am not that good, not even close. Somebody more creative than me thought of that. Let me see. Ginkgo trees have male and female, and Amy said that, so that's believable. Wouldn't know. Is that a ginkgo tree? I don't think so. It looks like I don't know what kind of tree it is. I'll ask my neighbour. It's his tree. He's gonna have to clean up all that white stuff that's falling on the road, though. It's a mess. Was it was it the macro book cover? Asks Alistair correctly after me missing that message. Yeah, that's what it was. Doesn't have to be a macro book. No. That's not the point. It can be a murder mystery, or it can be a textbook. It can be any book you want. It just has to have an image on it that is macro-ish. See what I'm saying? I'll tell you what, it can be anything you want that fits the criteria macro book cover. Yeah, I'll put it in the with the show notes and everything. By the way, don't forget, you'll see under this and on the video that I'm releasing today, you'll see in the show notes where there's normally loads of stuff and links and what have you, it's just a link that says go here to see everything else. And if you're buying one of those lenses and want to see the stuff I talk about in the video, the other equipment, and want to see some links to that stuff, you'll have to click on that link and it'll take you to our website where there is a full piece that has all of those links. Okay? That's the way we do it now, so just warning you. And that's where the announcement about the thing will be with the instructions for the book cover. Boy, that was a lot of fun, but it went by awfully fast. It's according to my watch, it's already past the hour. My computer's about 2 minutes shy of the hour, so I can take another question. Joseph says... Joseph's in Oz. Yep, and it's dawn on the East Coast. Yes, but dawn of what day? That's the thing. It's tomorrow or last week or something. That's what always threw me off. I've never been there. I'd like to go there. Would you like to sponsor a trip for me to go there? No, I didn't think so, but worth asking. I need to do some personal visiting this year. I want to pick a place where there are a lot of you people that could get together for a bit of I don't know, shooting, talking, going for walks, just to spend a day. You think that would be fun? I think that would be brilliant fun. But I don't know where there's a concentration of people. You're all spread out all over creation, and that would be a lot of driving. And my plane is in the shop, forever. So it'll have to be like a place. Think about it. If you come up with an idea, let me know. Holly and chestnut trees have male and female too. Well, holly's a female tree, must be. And chestnut, I think you could stretch your imagination to see why that ought to be a male tree. 1,458 hours. That's what Amy says. In response to what? I don't really know. Angie. It was Angie that came up. Of course it was Angie. Angie is the eternal font of clever ideas and artistic things. Thank you, Angie. Well done. And congratulations again to Graham Carey for just an absolutely top-notch video. I laughed so hard when I saw that. And I did not get it until the last beep was dying out when it occurred to me what death of a ballpoint pen meant. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Clever, funny, well filmed. I'd love to hear from you whether or not you were moving the camera when the pen was drawing on the paper. Was the camera moving with it, or were you pulling the paper? It was unclear, but it was so well done it didn't matter. First rate. Michelle Cox. Is the name on the photo... How do they get judged? If the name is on the photo, how do they get judged anonymously? Is the question. I don't know. Good point, though. Good point. It's getting hard for me to keep a straight face when I say that your pictures are judged anonymously. I can almost 80% pick out who took what. I mean, I'm serious. I take one look at a picture and yep, that's one of Robert's, no doubt about it. And I'm half the time I'm right at least. So yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of judging with other people in the coming years. Like my two grown kids who did such a bang up job last year. They're going to come on as guests, and we're going to judge one, and they're going to level out any. But I am absolutely pure as the driven snow when it comes to judging on the basis of the image. I really am. This stuff's too important to me not to do that. So I'm just saying, trust me. I can be trusted. All right. I think he was moving the paper. I think he was too. But I didn't think about it till afterwards. Okay. Oh, the time, 14:58. That's right. That's 2 minutes too. But that was 2 minutes ago. We're done. Have a great weekend. Go out and photograph boy and girl trees. But be careful what parts you photograph. And I will talk to you next week. Thanks for coming. Thanks for making this whole thing what it is. It's special. You know that because you come back. But it's because of you and your participation. Thanks to everybody who turned in a video this month, last month, and the month before. Crackers. Just really great work. See you on Tuesday if you make it. Until then, farewell.